Hi guys, Stephanie Type 1. As promised, the sick day video. Before I get started, a little update, because I told you guys to keep you updated on the pregnancy too. The baby's measurements are at 32 weeks, but I'm 30 weeks, which means the resistance is there. Insulin resistance, that HPL. Doctor doesn't want a baby over 9 pounds, so gonna need really tight control in the next 10 weeks. Alright, so sick day. I have two groups. I have the above, or 250 and above, group, and the 70 and below group. Alright, so if you are above 250, these are the guidelines from American Diabetes and whatnot. You want to stick to low carb, sugar free, no sugar items. And for the above 250 group, you'll need water, diet drinks, Jell-O, and sugar-free ice pops, ice chips, which I don't have in here because you can make ice chips or you can buy them, and broth. Alright, for the below 70 or below group, you'll need regular drinks. I don't have regular electrolytes because I drink the diet ones because there are carbs in there. Anyways, regular Jell-O, glucose tablets, and regular ice pops, and soup, which is in my freezer. I make my soups ahead of time so that if I do have a sick day, it's there. You'll also need your glucose meter, and if you're type 1, keto sticks, because you want to make sure that you're not going into DKA. Alright, so if you go over 250, there's no means for panic. If you go above 350, call your doctor. They may tell you to stay home or go to the ER, depending on your doctor. So this sick day is you, the diabetic, plus your doctor or your nurse or your diabetes educator or your parents if you're younger. You'll also need your cough medicine. Now, I've seen diabetics go, "Oh my God, my sugar's high," and I just took Robitussin. Well, you can choose to take regular cough medicine, but they do make a diabetic version of that cough medicine. It's called Diabetic Tussin. It is dye-free and sugar-free. It tastes awful, I will be honest, but it does the job. It comes in regular and extra strength. I use the extra strength because before I was diagnosed diabetic, I was an asthmatic as a child, so it's harder for me when I get sick with a cold to bring up that mucus or that junk that's stuck in my lungs. The extra strength gives that little extra push. If you're pregnant, consult your OB and doctor before you take Diabetic Tussin. Again, if you're above 250, and you've tested for ketones, there's no ketones, you may not be fine according to your doctor, and they'll send you to the ER to get evaluated. It's all up to your doctor. If you feel capable of staying home taking care of yourself, fine. But just consult your doctor on your sick days so that they know you've been sick. Another thing with sick days, if you have an infection, you'll run high. If you're on antibiotics, you'll run high. What else? I think that's about it. If you're under 70 and you've been consuming your stuff and you stay under 70 and you're responsive, just have someone stay with you, just in case. If you live alone and you're under 70, give someone a call or text someone or something, Be like, hey, I'm having a sick day and I'm under 70 and just letting you know. If I don't respond, come check on me. So yeah, Friday is World Diabetes Day. Also my mother's birthday. What else? Oh, in occasion of Diabetes Awareness Month, I'm going to share my story with you. I'm not sure if I shared the full story with you. I've shared bits and pieces on blogs and whatnot. But here goes. The whole story, nothing but the whole story. Alright. So at the age of 13, I was diagnosed borderline diabetic. And doctor had me randomly testing. I'd go in every so often for that sugary drink, which was, well, anyways. Anyways, a little bit down the road at the age of 17 in 2006, yes. I was diagnosed type 2. I was on type 2 meds, testing 4 times a day. I was eventually put on a little bit of insulin at night. I was on Lantus. At the age of 21, I went to the ER with DKA. Now some of you are wondering, well, type 2s don't go into DKA. Well, no, they don't. I was misdiagnosed with type 2 at the age of 17. Because my doctor, who is no longer my doctor, overlooked the fact that type 1 skipped a generation on my dad's side. My great uncle, my grandfather's brother, died of complications to type 1. They basically cut his legs off to his waist because of gangrene. And on my mother's side, my uncle, who was 17 at the time, is type 1. So my doctor overlooked those two little red flags to type 1 because I was a heavyset girl. Well, that heavyset girl at the age of 17 dropped 90 pounds in roughly 2 months. kept going to the bathroom. So, why is she type 2? Anyways, long story short for the misdiagnosis, before I went into the hospital, my husband, who was my fiance at the time, this was in 2008, so 2 years after my type 2 misdiagnosis, was talking to my grandmother. My grandfather was in the hospital at the time. He says, "Is there a nurse around? And could I speak to her?" Now, I only had a bowl of ramen that day. I wasn't feeling too hot. So the nurse was like, "Alright, what's going on?" He says, "Well, she hasn't been feeling good all day." She says, "Okay, what color are her fluids?" He says, "Well, that's the thing that concerns me. She went from clear as water to black. Is she on an iron supplement?" "No." "Get her to the ER now." Alright, waiting for my dad to get home because I obviously can't drive like that and we didn't have a vehicle at the time. Drinking a glass of water that my mom handed me. I was like, "Spit it out." "Mom, did you put sugar in my water?" No. I didn't think of it at the time, but my fluids that I was bringing up, my body was trying to get rid of sugar. But I didn't think of it at the time. Now I know. Okay, so I'm in the ER and I don't notice these things. My father told me that night. He was very afraid because not only did I have the fruity smell on my breath, but I was breathing pretty heavily. The ER doctor told my dad if I hadn't come in any sooner, I would not be alive. My blood sugar was 411 when I went into the ER. It had probably been higher if I had not been bringing up my bodily fluids. So I spent 4 days in the hospital relearning my diabetes things. The next day after I was admitted in that night, a lovely doctor named Dr. Harris looked at my doctor at the time, whom I will not name because a lot of you know who he is, and says, "Are you stupid? This girl needs to be on insulin and only insulin. These pills mean nothing for her type 1. But yeah, I relearned everything. My hospital bill was really high because I was uninsured at the time. It's been paid off. It was a $13,000 hospital bill. And I've been doing fairly well with my diabetes. I'll show you guys my blood sugar in a minute. I want to correct first. Alright, so there's that resistance. I'm at 238. Normally around this time I start being in like the 120s or lower because of my basal, but because of my insulin resistance, I'm up there. But yeah, that's my diabetes story. Another part of the diabetes story is I couldn't manage with injections anymore, so I started looking into getting